Hello, welcome to episode 21 of the Zeens and Roger Crochet vlogcast. I'm Rosina, and if you want to come and join me for a chat, sit down, get your crochet out and stitch away. Today is Thursday and that means it's the winter solstice, so happy Yuletide and happy Christmas and all the other shenanigans that goes on at this time of year. Hope you're having a good one. It's quite quiet here. I don't think we're going to do anything too crazy. We've got our tree, and we made paper chains last weekend, so we've got some colourful paper chains up. I'll put in a picture into the show notes so that you can have a look. Yeah, you alright? I'm okay. Yeah, no, I'm happy. It's good. All's good. I'm in a good place. I don't feel rushed or panicky about last minute making or anything like that, because this year I decided not to do it. I've not done handmade Christmas, not deliberately anyway, not sort of like last year I set out to make Christmas gifts for loads of different people, and this year I've gone, do you know what, that was stressful, I'm not going to do that again. So I haven't. One or two things I will gift to people that are handmade things, but as I made them I didn't give myself a deadline or anything. They were just nice, easy, quick things to do that weren't going to cause me any trouble. But yeah, it's all good. So welcome. First thing is, and let's get this out of the way because I want to draw a line under this now, but I can safely say that I have finished my third colour block jumper. It's slightly different to the other two. This one is, as you know from previous episodes, Drops Lima, which is an alpaca double knit. This is Drops something else. Merino, Drops Merino, something or other, and it's a double knit, but the two are slightly different. This one is an extra small, and I haven't actually, what I should have done is laid them laid one over the other to see what the difference is. This one's narrower, which is good, but the sleeves are just as long as the other sizes, so they're ridiculously long. Well, I don't know. I daren't try it on in case it's too small and I stretch it. Although I did block the pieces. Yeah, it's definitely narrower than mine because it doesn't stretch around. So third time's a charm. Done it. Happy, relieved. I won't ever talk about them again. It's funny because I'm never making another one of these again. Just, that's it, I've had enough. But now I've made this, I don't want to make another colour block jumper, but I want to make a stripy colour one because I've seen on Instagram there's a fabulous crochet designer called, with the Instagram name of iron_lamb, and she has designed something very different. I believe the construction is very different to this, but it's essentially a granny jumper, but stripes of beautiful colour, and and now I've seen that, I wouldn't mind doing one of those. We shall see. I think I need a jumper break. This one I had to finish because I had to show you before the end of the year. Had to, and also I'm giving it to my sister next week. So, oh my gosh, so happy that that is done. That was it was a weight on my shoulders, and it has been for about 2 months. It was sat there in pieces for ages, and then I think last week I decided to block them because I was worried that it was actually too small. We shall see. The proof will be in the wearing next week. I'll see if I can take some pictures of my sister wearing it. Just some random pictures of her you don't want to see. Well, you might. I don't know. I spent last week photoshopping baubles onto her onto her naked body. She sent me a nude picture of her just with a hand like this up against a fir tree in the middle of the woods. She'd somehow got her kit off and she was like this, and I was given the task of photoshopping baubles. Like she was hanging a bauble onto the tree, and I had to shop baubles onto this tree. And thanks. It was actually really interesting because I learnt some Photoshop lessons. It's only a very old version of Photoshop. It's not a new snazzy one, but if you don't know how to use it, it may as well be an alien language. I mean, even YouTube videos did not help. So I'm going to need some lessons in. It was the cutting. I couldn't work out how to cut out the negative space. Anyway, so yeah, I won't show you that picture. So there's not really. What am I trying to say? Okay. Last week, it was, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, I think it was the week before, I put up this pattern for free on the blog, right? And purely because it is literally just a scarf, it's nothing fancy, and I just sort of boshed out a quick, here's how I did it type blog post. And then I did the usual thing of adding it to Ravelry, putting a few pictures on Pinterest. It has gone mental. I've no idea why. I mean, other than it's cool, but it's so fun. I can never ever predict what will be popular and what won't be. I'm useless at that. What I think is going to be fabulous, dive bombs. Every now and again, quite a bit. I don't know. My gauge is well off. who I don't understand, because everybody's different. But I woke up one day, like 4 days after I'd posted the pattern, and then I did do that tutorial as well. So there's a little tutorial on how to do this on my channel, which is quite funny. At the end I do get the giggles a little bit, but that's done really well as well. I'm just astounded, and it just goes, I don't know how to replicate that kind of popularity with patterns. I don't know how to do it, other than I think simplicity works. I think sometimes I try too hard. I think I need to just tone it down a bit, maybe, or something. I don't know, because like I like fancy things though. Oh, it's so tricky. But I'm astounded. So thank you very much to all of those who have watched the tutorial and have come over and grabbed the pattern. I find it a slight shame that if you get, like, say, I don't know how, I haven't looked at the stats for a couple of days, but 2 or 3 days ago I'd had a couple of thousand hits on this, and that's ridiculous. But what makes me feel a bit sad is that maybe 5 or 6 people might say, this is really nice, thank you, out of all of those people. And I was like, I want people to come and say hi, do you know what I mean? It's not, I have to say though that I didn't realise until I started blogging and doing videos and stuff like that, that I was doing the same thing as well. I would pop over to somebody's website and find a free pattern and go, woohoo, yay, this is great, but not say anything, not even think about it, because it's just sort of not on your radar or what have you. And you forget that there's a human behind that web page. Not all the time, I suppose. Sometimes it might be a business or a corporation or something, but a lot of the time it's one person on their own. So so to all those other people that do that sort of thing, like sharing patterns and whatnot, I think you're amazing. Thank you, because Is that like saying, yeah, I'm amazing as well for doing it? No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that. But does that make sense? I felt kind of sad that not many, even just like hi, I just want people to say hi. I didn't realise that it would make a difference or mean something to me. But it does actually, yeah. So if you ever sort of have a thought, you can tippy tappy it out if you like and tell me. Last Friday, I think it was, I don't know, all of a sudden I realised how close Christmas was, and all of a sudden I realised I want to make a hat. And you know I already have a hat, but it's rubbish. It's full of mistakes, isn't it? Which you would have seen last episode. I had this urge, you know what it's like when you get a sudden spark of inspiration. And actually this is maybe I got it because I got like the spark because I'd taken a week or two off and not really done very much crochet, because you know I was moaning about losing the sort of the motivation and losing the desire to do anything at all, no desire. Well, I took a couple of weeks off and didn't do very much at all, and then all of a sudden, boom, I was just like, I'm gonna make a hat. And that very morning I went to the wool shop up the road and I bought 3 balls of yarn and I made a hat. And that hat turned into these guys as well, and the pattern I wrote it up and I put it on Ravelry, and it's available to buy. There is a back side and a front side, but ho ho ho, do you like it? Do you know, I really like it. It is Stylecraft Life Super Chunky. It's 1 ball of this, and I used 2 balls for this, and that's 3 balls that made this and the garland. And the pattern, I'm shouting, I've covered my ears, I've gone deaf. The pattern is on Ravelry, it's 7 pages, and that's me being, oh, so awkward. We went to the pub on Sunday, and I finished this off in the car, and I started making the little ones when we were sat around the dinner table at the pub, and I'd said to my friend, do you mind if you could take some photographs of me wearing the hat so I can put them on the pattern. I've never felt so awkward in all my life. I don't know how models and things do it. It's so natural. As soon as the camera was pointed at me for the photography purposes, I just went and started pulling extraordinarily ugly faces. I can't help it. I'm self-conscious, I suppose. But yeah, they're all sort of pictures like that, screwing at my face. Honestly, you need to sort of, I don't know, maybe have a drink or 2 before you start these things, so you can sort of be a bit more kind of natural and relaxed. But so there's the pattern for this big hat, and I've got other people wearing it as well to show you that small children wear the same hat, and big giant men can all wear the same size. And then I've got the pattern for the garland as well, and it's all part of the same document. 7 pages, and it's on Ravelry, and I am fully aware that I've left it a bit late because it's Christmas on Monday. I do wish that spark of inspiration had happened maybe a fortnight before, because I assume that most people have already got their hat sorted. If they were so inclined to make themselves a hat or make somebody else a hat, they've probably already done it by now. You can't beat a granny. I've got evidently a fondness for the humble granny. This is a granny stitch hat, as you can probably see, I hope. The scarf is a granny, the colour book jumpers, it's all based around the granny. There was something else grannified I'm sure I made the other day. It's a granny. I love the granny. So if you want some granny Christmas hats, the pattern is on Ravelry, and I'll show you. I've got one, an eighth little one hanging on my tree, and I made all of these with the 3 balls of yarn. It was quite cheap. I think it was like, I don't know, £3 something it was for the 1 ball. And we've got a needle, little needle stuck in him. Christmas needle, my needle. I think they're well cute. I'm quite pleased with myself. It just happened. All of a sudden I was like, I know I've got to make these. And for about 5 minutes I went, no, don't worry about it, it's too late. And then I was just like, no, I'm going to do it. And actually I went to the yarn shop in town, which is about a 6-minute walk away from here, if that. And they didn't have anything beyond an Aran weight. Oh, they might have had a chunky, but that wasn't good enough. I needed to go and up the road to the garden centre, which is about a mile away. So I practically ran, just like desperately must go and get myself this yarn, and they had super chunky, and that was like good. I'm happy with this. It works. It's nice, and because it's super chunky, it works up in next to no time. I made 3 of these and all 8 hats in a day or less than a day, or I think I must have started on the Friday, and I did sort of do several different versions of things. I made 3 hats in the end, but ripped 2 back with the yarn and then finalised on this one. But before I'd done that, I'd sort of made the brim 3 times as well, and just spent the Saturday doing other things, being busy, and, you know, weighing up what things work best, as one does when one is designing. Anyway, I'm getting hot. So I'm really happy. Well, there's this like it is shaped so that there's decreases, but you could wear it like that way, couldn't you? Because some illustrations have it so it's like that, and you wouldn't really be able, to be honest with you, once it's on your head it makes very little difference. Anyway, I'm dead keen on that, and I keep on having to hide it away because this pom-pom in this house will be destroyed in seconds if the cat gets anywhere near it. She is a pom-pom fiend. She brought in 3 mice last week. I'm sure, I don't know why, maybe a pom-pom looks a bit like a mouse, but there were 3 mice she brought in last week, one of which hid in one of my scarves, and I carried it outside in the scarf and sort of shook it off into the greenery, and off he went. I've digressed. What I might do next year, because I've left it too late really, I'm not going to make very many sales from this now, it's too late. But next year I'm going to do one in an Aran and one in like in even chunkier yarn than that, if I can get my hands on something. Not those giant yarns. I don't think you'd get many clusters. You need something so you've got some clusters, otherwise it would just look weird. I will experiment for next year, but not leave it until a week to go. That's what I think I will do. I'll have to find some sort of, write it on my list. And not forget it, because my list is huge and I always keep a list of things I want to do. And one thing I had on my list for 6 months I made 2 days ago. Pardon me. It is a plant pot holder, which yeah, just such a simple little project, and I've been really keen on making one, but it's just one of those things that you sort of go, oh yeah, I'll do that another day, I'll do that another day. And but I've done it. It's over there. Shall I go and get it? Hang on. One moment, please. Here you go. I got myself a plant. The pot is just, it's quite a pretty pot actually, and it's got I don't know, it's sort of pale blue, pale grey colours from Homebase. And it was, I don't know, it wasn't very much. The yarn, I'm sorry, I did not look. I did not look about the yarn because it's but I know it's not hooked spaghetti. I know it's not that, because I started using that and that's really thick and really elastic, and it was sort of warping into all kinds of silly shapes, and I didn't like it, so I scrapped that. I've used that spaghetti stuff for a couple of different projects. I don't like it. This, from memory, I think it's it's called a noodle. It might be called, like, there are 2 widths of noodle yarns. It's t-shirt yarn, and this one was the thinner stuff, and it was in the sale from a online yarn shop, and it's scapiers. I don't know how you, oh, everybody says I don't know how to say it, but I think it's something like scapiers. Scapier. Not sheepies. And it is a thin noodly yarn stuff, and it's much more t-shirt. It feels like a yarn that you might actually cut from a real t-shirt rather than the spaghetti stuff. Spaghetti feels to me like a bit sort of bandagey and really thick. I've never had an item of clothing from any kind of material that's like that. This pattern is a modified version of one by Vicky Howell, and I'll put the link in the show notes. My problem is that each time you make this is that it depends on the plant pot you've got, doesn't it? Each plant pot is different, and so you're going to have to tweak the sizes unless you have a standard plant pot size. But they're not. If you go to the shops, there's about 6. In Homebase, there were several designs of plant pot, and each design had 6 sizes. So how do you know which size will fit? So I tweaked it and made it fit by doing, I think I increased around on its bottom before it worked, because I did do it the other way as well, and then it didn't fit. I followed the pattern exactly and it didn't fit, so I had to do. So that's that. I've got nowhere to hang it. At the moment it's hanging on the window handle, but that doesn't work because it doesn't freely hang, it rests against the window. So even though this has been on my list for 6 months, and within that 6 months you would have thought that I would think at one of those moments in time, you've got nowhere to hang it, why are you doing this? Why do you want to do this? Even in this room I've got nowhere I'd want to hang it. I know where I want to hang it in the hallway, but that's stupid. Every time you walk past, I mean the hallway's not that wide, you'd bang your head. Douche. I'm going to go and put it back now. You watch my Christmas tree for me. I got a very nice bit of post this morning. It was very exciting. An old friend has come back to me. I've not seen my friend for 10 months. Ta-da! This is my Geo Rainbow blanket, corner to corner, that was featured in issue 90 of Inside Crochet magazine. In fact, this time last year I think I'd just got the yarn ready to start, and I was fretting about the colour choices and stuff like that, and I couldn't work out if I'd made the right decision. And I'd love to make another one in a different colour palette. I'd love to. I'm not poo-pooing these colours because I'm rather fond of them, but I'm not happy with this, this blue here. It just seemed to be a bit of a wrong fit. And so, and there was another one of the purpley colours. It sort of just seemed to, like, looking at it now after not seeing it for a very long time, it's very heavy on the blues, and I'd quite like to add a bit more zing in there. So we shall see. I think if I can find the time, I'm not necessarily going to make another blanket, I've got another idea in mind, but using the same idea of doing the little corners and making it look like it's made of individual squares when actually it's worked up in all one piece. But I wouldn't have been so fussed about having it back, apart from the fact that it's sort of like a milestone blanket. Wasn't my very first pattern in a magazine, I think it's my second, but it's the first one that was sort of, it was the first one that was commissioned, because the my first pattern was one I'd already designed and sort of approached an editor and gone, do you like this, do you want it? And they'd said yes, whereas this one was the first one where was my first sort of success from submitting designs specifically from a given brief, and so it just sort of, I'm a little bit proud of it, and I wanted it back, and I'm really happy to have it here. And actually I'm surprised about how firm it is. I remember going, oh, I wish I'd gone down a hook size. It just didn't feel sort of solid enough, it didn't feel secure. I'm like, it's going to come undone, and it's all nonsense, it's fine. Hindsight is beautiful, isn't it? It's nothing wrong with it at all. God, the amount of fretting you do when you've sort of got your little babies, your designs out in the world, panic, it's fine. I was sort of saying the other day about how I was talking to my husband, and he had said, I won't sort of redo the whole conversation, but basically he said, the 3 years ago you would not believe what you've done in the last few years, would not believe it. That person that was frightened or sort of really unsure about what would happen if they put themselves out there, you've come a long way. Because I'm still there going, but I haven't sold any patterns in days, oh woe is me. And or, you know, if you don't get that one submission the commission that you thought was really gonna sort of win somebody over because you loved it so much, but it didn't get anywhere, and you think, I'm useless, I'm rubbish. But actually I'm not, I'm doing alright, it's okay. And it's things like this that sort of cement that. I think if you're feeling a little bit rubbish, just sort of, just tell yourself you've come all this way. It might not be crochet, it might be something else, or it could be crochet. You might have only learnt 3 years ago or whatever, or you might have only learnt 3 weeks ago. But if you had learnt only 3 weeks ago, look, now you are chaining and you've made a granny square. You're doing all right. You couldn't do that 3 weeks ago, could you? Everything's cool. So this blanket is physical evidence of that. Yes. I'm going to keep it forever. I don't know where. I might keep it in here, but it's it would look lovely in a nursery, I think, or something like that. I'm not going to have another baby. Just, do you know what? Can we have another baby, please? Because this blanket would look really good in a nursery. That's not going to happen. I might put it in the kids' room though. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. I cut the idea of having another baby sends shivers down my spine. So let me just tick all my things. I think there's done that. Oh yes. Now I have frogged something the beginning of this year, last winter. I made a cowl in lots of little triangles. Do you remember? This was we're going back to episode 2 or 3 maybe. And I did a little cowl. And it was this is Aaron Waite Blueface Leicester from The Wall Kitchen. And it's called Nebula. And I decided that I don't like small cowls. If I'm going to make some neckwear, I want a lot of it. I don't want a petite thing around my neck. I want loads, swathes of fabric going. That's my kind of scarf, my kind of cowl. And so I knew I wasn't going to wear this, even though I love the yarn. So I frogged it. And I've made a couple of other cowls in the same way because I played with this triangle pattern that I found online. There's a blog post, you might have seen it. Not mine. A pattern called the Infinity Triangle Cowl. Triangles. I'll write it down so you can have a look. So rather than letting that just sort of sit there unworn, I frogged it and I'm going to make some gloves. And I'm going to probably start on Sunday as part of the One Skein Wonderland cowl. Got an eyelash. Bugger. Sorry. One Skein Wonderland cowl, run by the Crochet Circle podcast. That's Faye from that one, and Charlie from Love Charlie. You called Love Charlie, Charlie? Is it Love Charlie? Love Charlie. Yeah, it is. Love Charlie. Right, stop saying it. There's a postman. Are you bringing my shoes? I've got some party shoes. I ordered them. They arrived last week, and they didn't fit. I needed to exchange them for half. Oh, it's me. It's not for me. What was I saying? Yeah, I ordered a size 6 some party shoes, some posh party shoes, and they're too big. I wish I'd kept them now because I could have bought some little heel inserts. No, I don't wish that because they didn't fit. So I've asked for an exchange so I can have a 5.5. Interesting, hey? But I was hoping that they would do it sort of quick turnaround, but what a stupid thing to think at this time of year. I mean, everywhere's so busy. That Amazon man must have thought I was a right lunatic. So just saw me talking to myself in the front room. Yeah, I keep doing this, I don't know what that's about. I saw on Instagram from Chrissy Crafts that there is a pattern called the photographer's mitts. Let me see if I can find it. I downloaded the pattern because I'd seen that Chrissy was making some and I thought that they would work quite well because initially I thought about knitting some, right? Just to sort of try and improve my knitting skills. I might still do that because I've also found a knitting pattern. Downloads. I found a knitting pattern for some mitts that I quite like, and I think I will be able to do. These are called the crochet photography mittens, and actually the stitch they've used is almost like a knit stitch. And they're called photography mittens because they've got little owls for your digits so that you can use the fingery bits to click your pictures, take your pictures. The stitch is called the waistcoat stitch or the split single crochet stitch. I've never done this stitch before, and this is one of the reasons why I think I would like to make these, is because I want to try the stitch that I've not done before. And the fact that it's kind of like knitting really does look kind of like a stockinette stitch, doesn't it? There's another picture of it. It's a free, sorry about the glare, free Ravelry download, which I think is brilliant. I haven't read through the pattern properly yet, but I don't know if it explains the stitch. I didn't know what it was or how you achieved it until I looked at a YouTube video and went, that is dead simple but dead effective. So I'm like, I want to make those. So do I make some mittens, which I love for winter handwear? I'm a mitten person. I don't like my fingers being separated in gloves. I hate it, can't stand it. So I'm a mitten person. So whether or not I try, so it was either going to be, so it's going to be those or some wrist warmers that are knitted, and I'll have a look. But that pattern is supposed to use 100 grams of Aran, so it makes sense, doesn't it, to give it a go. And this yarn seems to work really well in knitting as opposed to crochet. I think the colours really sort of, these neon flecks that you see kind of get lost in a crochet stitch, but in a knitted thing it just seems to work. So it would be interesting to see what that crochet stitch does to this yarn. But yeah, so I'll start those at the weekend, because the weekend is, well, it's on Sunday, is Christmas Eve. Ready already. That's amazing, isn't it? What are you doing for Christmas? Are you taking it easy, or are you doing anything crazy? I think ours is going to be a relatively quiet one. I'm just looking through my list of thingies. You know, I've never done a crochet along before, because I just thought, oh, well, I don't have like a massive load of what's the word? I was going to say what's the word? Influence in the crochet world. Not really. So if I did it, but mind you, if there was only 5 of us, if I did a crochet along, then that's all right, isn't it? Anyway, I was thinking, it's literally sprung in my brain just now, because I dismissed it before, thinking no, I wasn't, I didn't know really why I would. Not why I would bother. Oh, maybe, yeah. Why would I bother doing that if nobody wants to come along on the crochet along trip with me? But maybe you do. Let me know. Would you be interested in doing a crochet along? I know that the problem is that there are loads of them. Really, really loads. But if I kept it loose, I've got an idea. Okay, this is what I thought about it. I thought about doing a granny along. And I know that the granny, sorry, I keep looking over there because the clock's over there. And I keep looking over there because there's people walking past. Sorry. Right. So my hair is in a dreadful state. I went to the hairdresser's the other day just to do my fringe. It took her 10 minutes to do it, I'm sure. I don't know why. I was a bit worried. Anyway. It's still, like, a bit long, considering literally not yesterday, day before, I've been to the hairdresser's and had this done. Now, it's love or hate with a granny. I think you can probably tell that I love granny stitches. I would like to do a granny along. I don't know what to call it. Grab a granny. Whether or not this becomes a cal or not, I don't know. But it would be really great to hear ideas and suggestions about what you could do with a granny stitch that might be a little bit different, or not. I would like, it would be really good to see what everybody does with the humble granny. Scarf, jumper, blanket, I'd like, I don't know, yeah, you know what I mean. So, do you think that's a good idea? As you can tell, I'm really confident about this. Yeah. And it's probably because I've only just thought of it this morning, so I've had no time to sort of, to stew on it, to stew it over, to mull it over. And maybe I'll give it more thought and come back to you. But it's just a little seed has been planted, and it'd be interesting to see where we can go from here. Yes. Anyway, can we, like, my New Year's resolution will be to stop saying anyway over and over again. Drives me bonkers. I suppose next episode, which will be in January, should I do a review or not bother? Do people do reviews? Just sort of a brief one. I wouldn't go into too much detail, because depending on what I get up to in the next 2 weeks, you don't want me to talk about all of that and do a review. Or I could do a separate one. I will think that over as well. But yeah, because I mean, I think I've done a lot in 2017. Done a lot. I'm going to write it all down. I could write it all down. Right, okay. In amongst all of that, you'll notice that I've got no whips. And apart from the whips that are just, you know, anything that I've not shown you, like the Weekender blankie, or there was another blankie. Oh, I ripped one back. There was a granny square blanket I started making a couple of weeks ago. That doesn't exist anymore. I was fed up of it. Oh, I also made a hot water bottle cover the other day, but that's upstairs. You don't need to see that. And I've got 2 more to make. One for husband, one for the eldest child. The youngest child has got one. Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap. You can tell I'm just like winding down. Look, I think this year has been pretty awesome. Yeah, sucky things have happened, but let's look at the positive stuff. Whether or not you think this year has been awesome or not, just don't let the bad crud stuff smother the good, okay? Just, you know, think about all the good stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to, I could be like the Queen and do a little Christmas message. I'm not going to do that. That's not why I'm here. Anyway. Oh! Do you like him? Here he is, he's finished. From me and my soldier and the woodpecker I just saw in the garden. Enjoy the festive season, and I will see you next year. As a kid, were you always like, you'd walk out the house from your mate's house and you'd go, see you next year, even though you knew it was only in 2 days' time you'd see them? I think it was like the most hilarious thing ever. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next year. Bye!